Hello world, how are you all doing? Welcome to my stream. Today and this week was quite kind of exciting for me, so there's quite a bit of things that we're going to talk about at the beginning of the stream. And then as always, we're going to get back to the open focus timer. But how are you all doing? Welcome to the stream, Rick Lowe, or Rick Löwe, I don't know. Löwe is lion in German, maybe that's the name. Good afternoon from the UK, hope you're doing well today. Thank you very much, good afternoon to you as well. Greetings to the UK, I'm doing great. Yeah, I want to get right to the different things that we're going to talk about. So I want to go through these things and welcome everybody. I hope you all had a great week as well. So as always, we're going to work on the open focus timer. That's also in the title of this stream. But before we get to that right away, there's going to be also kind of different approach on that. And I'm excited to actually, if we look back at last week's summary, I'm excited that we have written down that we want to start implementing a history statistics screen. So that's like statistics is something where we can use the new Swift charts library. And that's also one of the things that we can do in a project like the Open Focus Timer, which is an entirely new app. And it also doesn't have like any requirements for making money or something like that. So we can be free to just say we're going to only focus on iOS 16 users and macOS Ventura. So that's something exciting that we're going to start today. But before we get to that, a quick recap of different things. Welcome to the stream, Samigun. How are you doing? So, all right. So first off, I want to quickly talk about a podcast, a German podcast. So for everybody who's listening here, can't speak German, maybe that's not for you, but basically I'm one of three people amongst Holger and Nico who are, we're doing this podcast together. It's about development, app development. And yesterday we did another recording. It's out today, a new episode with Ulf Burmeier, who's not an unknown person. But from my perspective, he's actually a prominent person. So he's someone who's also doing a podcast about political stuff, but he also does app development as a hobby. So we interviewed him basically, and we talked about WWDC. So if you're speaking German, make sure to check this podcast out. It's definitely worth listening. All right, then next up, I did mention this already in the past streams. I have written another issue of the Swift Evolution Monthly. So Swift Evolution, for everybody who doesn't know, is basically the place. It's like a forum where people from Apple and from the community can together discuss the future of Swift. So you can like make suggestions for what features Swift should receive. What you can also just say like this part of Swift isn't great. Can we do something about it? And then people can just discuss how things can be improved. And every time there is a new proposal, you can also help review that and to help build the feature in the right way. And I'm basically writing a monthly summary of that, so of things that are going on there. And I covered 4 more proposals this time around. And of course, I did like a quick introduction here, summarizing my learnings about WWDC. Then quickly what new proposals got accepted that I already covered in previous issues. And then 4 of them, one about build time constants. So we have a new add-cons attribute. If you want to learn more about that, this is kind of cool. So it's going to allow new kind of things in Swift. Then some improvements to opaque result types. For example, you'll be able to do like something like this if available, and then you can return 2 different types, which is currently not possible. The third thing, extensions on bound generic types. So instead of this, basically you'll be able to write something as simple as this, which is really amazing. Then last but not least, piecemeal adoption of future language improvements, which means there will be a new feature, a flag for Swift, which is going to be called enable future feature, kind of a handful there. But there's going to be different kinds of features. And these are going to be the initial ones hidden behind that flag. And this flag basically will allow you to use Swift 6 features today, right now in Swift 5 time. And this will make it easier to step by step, basically migrate to Swift 6 and also just to use Swift 6 features today. And I cover them in detail in this link. So make sure to check that out. Let me send you the link here in the chat for those who want to check this out. All right, that's the new article I wrote. Then another thing I wrote actually after sending out the newsletter, because I'm always reading stuff on Swift Evolution. I always want to participate as an active member, so I always wanted to write a pitch or write a proposal myself, and actually did that on Sunday because I just had some time left over. So if you want to check that out, I made a proposal or a pitch, to be more correct, about if let catch for community accessing both result type cases. So to break it down, basically what I want to be able to do is, where it is, okay, instead of writing something like this, which is, in my opinion, kind of long, like you have to type a lot, and also this, if you have like multiple of them, it doesn't nest well. I want to be able to write something like this. So I have a result, so I have a fetch data function, which returns data. I think it should be a result of data. Oh wait, this is optional. Wrong example. I was talking about this one here. So here, instead of something like this, I want to be able to write one of these. And I compared this to optionals, because for optionals we do get a syntactic sugar. And I suggested that we could just do the same like we do have with optionals, and just introduce an if let, and then when on this right side there is a result type, like this fetch data returns a result type, that in this thing here, we're just getting the data value. So whatever that is, if we have a success, then it gets bound to data, and then we just have it available inside of here. Currently we would have to do like .get or do this case success thing. And for the, and more importantly, for the error case, I'm suggesting to introduce a new catch keyword. And this would work similar to do catch, but unlike do catch, where you can like write a try inside and then you have a throwing function, unlike do catch, the catch doesn't produce an error that is of type error, but the type here is precise and explicitly the type of the failure of the result. So I can easily catch both the success type and the result type in just a simple statement. And the same should also work with guardlet, where in the else clause, let me scroll up here, where in the else clause, you can basically have a typed error and you can do something with it. And on the other case, if you want to just continue, you can use the success value. And that's my suggestion. And there has been some discussion here, so you can see the thread is already quite long. First, some people didn't really like my idea because they thought it's mixed up with error handling, and I think they still think that. But then I went on to explain why I think it's still necessary, and then other people jumped in and suggested other things. And yeah, that's an interesting discussion. It's my first pitch here, so if you want to check that out. Of course, if you follow me on Twitter, you should have seen this already. Yeah, that's that. Then another cool thing is we have finally reached the 100 subscribers on YouTube. So I should theoretically finally be able to change this cryptic name to something else which is less cryptic. But unfortunately, somehow it didn't work for me. I don't know why. Maybe it takes some time until the YouTube systems process that. Dragon Dust, hey, welcome to the stream. How are you doing? Maybe it takes some time until it's processed. Maybe Dragon Dust, do you know? I have read the requirements for changing the YouTube channel's name, and it says it has to be 100 subscribers at least, which I have now. And you have to, like, the channel needs to be open more than 30 days, which is also the case in my case. And you need to have a profile image and a header. So I have them all, and still I can't see the button to like edit the name. I don't know, maybe I'll just wait and we'll see. It's not, we're not on a hurry here. Good, how are you? Yeah, I'm great. I'm actually I'm very close to the releasing the beta version of my app that I'm working on for 6 months now. So yeah, I'm going to actually soft reveal it in this stream. So definitely stay in the stream to see what I've been working on. All right, one more thing is we had a problem with Open Focus Timer because we are now targeting iOS 16 and macOS Ventura. And because I have iOS 16 as a simulator, we can test that easily, but there is no macOS simulator, right? So we can't just simulate macOS Ventura. And I am, of course, not on macOS Ventura yet. We are here on macOS 12.4, I think. And I want to still be able to test, and there has been a new release from Guy Rambo, who's also doing the Stack Overflow podcast together with John Sandell. So if you're not listening to that, that's definitely a great podcast for developers to here. And he basically has been working or playing around with the virtualization framework that Apple provides. So for people who don't know, Apple does provide a virtualization framework. And actually, to this year's WWDC, they improved it quite a bit. And it's really amazing. You can write with like 20, 30 lines of code. You can write a whole virtualization framework and an app that virtualizes, that does virtual machines, basically. And that's exactly what Guy Rambo has done here. He's put a small app, and I have actually installed it, so I can show it to you. And I have already configured macOS Ventura in it. Unfortunately, today we can't use it because there's still a bug. Somehow I can't open this. I don't know why. I have to investigate. But the cool thing is, what we will be able to do is, as soon as I figured out how to fix this, we are going to be able to test the open focus timer in macOS Ventura inside the virtual machine. Not directly by targeting the Xcode, but because open focus timer is open source, I can just download it inside of the VM, and then we can just run it inside of the virtual machine in Xcode. I've already tried that. It works perfectly. So that's how we're going to test on macOS Ventura without actually having Ventura on our machine here. So that's that. These are the news. And the last thing, that's the biggest one, is it's also in the title of the notification that I've sent out for this stream, is as I already said, I am working for since like January already on an app. My first indie app actually that I'm going to release. That's going to be also a paid app after all. But it is going to be freemium, so there's going to be a big free tier for most developers. That should be enough. Just, of course, I have to make some money in some way, so I'm going to have also paid features in there. And this app's beta is ready now, or at least my tasks for the beta are finished. So I figured maybe I should just apply it here live on the open focus timer, because it is an app for developers. It is an app that basically replaces body crouch for everyone who knows body crouch. And the app helps translate apps, and it improves the workflow. So I've been working on a lot of things there, and a lot of integrations with Xcode and things like that. And it was tough sometimes because really the integration is hard sometimes. But I am now ready to soft reveal the app by just showing it and applying it here. And just a really important note, it is not finished. I am still working on a lot of things. I have still a list of issues to work on and features to add. But I think it's in a state that it can be put into hands and people can test it. And it's important to give it into to people, an app, to get early feedback. And before I even do that, so I consider what I'm going to show you today a beta candidate. So it's not a release candidate, it's like a release candidate, but instead of a release candidate, it's a beta candidate. So I'm going to test if it's ready for beta or not. And I'm expecting to find many issues because I have only tested the whole app like a real test, I think, I don't know, 1 month ago or something. And since then I have improved quite a bit of things. So I think there's going to be still a few things that I'm going to find, but we're going to do that together. So, and the app is here. This is also, the app icon isn't finished. I have been working on Fiverr. I don't know if you know that website. It's Fiverr.com. I have been in contact with some designers there to design an app icon for me, but the app icon isn't finished yet, so I'm still working on that. So this app icon is just produced in some app icon generator, and just to have something that's better than nothing. The name of the app is RimaFox. So the name is now revealed officially. It was not revealed until now, and we're going to actually start by using the app. So let me create the new open focus timer summary here, and I'm just going to add also the app feedback into that document. So we are here, session, next steps, and oops, that was not on purpose. This is open focus timer part 28, I think. Quite a bit of parts already. All right, so we're going to start with a review of RimaFox or application, or RimaFox test, I don't know how to call it. And I'm going to make this a chevron so we can add some feedback here. All right, so yeah, I think let's get started by just opening the app. And there you go. So, I have already tested this. Let me quickly remove that. So, all right, so let me close the app again. Let me actually, I think I have already tried this out, if it works at all, because there are some installation issues and integration issues with Xcode, so that's what I did to test before. Otherwise, it'll be bad to test it before. But yeah, this is the app, and it's going to look something like this when you start it up the first time. And as you can see, this is looking similar to how Xcode also looks when you open Xcode, and you can set up a new project or open an existing project. So we are new here, so we want to set up a new project. Let me select that. All right, when clicking that, we're going to see a folder chooser. So I can just drag and drop, or I can also use the selector here, my application. I'm actually going to use the file picker here. So we want to go to developer, and this is our app project. So what we do here is we drag and drop a folder of the project that I want to localize, or in this case, I just choose it. And then we're brought into a quick config screen. And you can see there's already a width issue here. So let me actually make a screenshot there. So this is the first issue I found. Fix width, provide a better width default. So I have been playing around with these show explanation things here. And that has been an improvement that I made. And it seems like it has brought in, introduced a bug here with the width. It should look a little different. Provide a better width default for quick config. All right, but we get presented with a quick configuration. We can change the project name if we don't like it. We can also change the source language of the app, and we can change the resource enum file path. And actually we want to change that, because if we open up our project here in Xcode, we can see that we do have a lot of things here, and we have a product that we call resources, and that's where we have all the localizables and also the SwiftGen generated files. And I think it is a good idea to add this resource enum file path, which is also a generated file. I want to add that to this place. So actually I'm going to place it inside of, I think it's sources, resources, and then I think that's it. So let's add sources/resources. All right, so that's the path I want to have this generated file. I'm going to keep the name. Let's continue. All right, so we're getting presented with a tutorial, set up resources enum, and then it tells us to drag and drop this new Remafox file inside of our project, which in our case we actually don't have to do. As you can see, it's already showing up here, and the reason why we don't have to do it is because we're using Swift Package Manager, which is using folder references, and it recognizes new files automatically. It also links them automatically, so actually we don't have to do anything here, I think. And we can simply show enum file in Finder. Yeah, we could do that now, and we could drag and drop that. So we have it in Finder here. It's getting marked. And then we could add it to our project like it says here and click the right things. I'm just going to click finish because we don't have to do anything there. By the way, what is this? Let me close that. All right, so this is what appears once we have configured our app. We can see plenty of text here, and that is actually the case. So this is the first time we start the app and we have configured a project. In our case, we get a body crouch migration notice. All right, so a body crouch configuration file was found, and it was used to set up the initial config file. Note that Remafox doesn't interfere with body crouch in any way. It works completely independent of body crouch and replaces it entirely with its own setup and config file. This is, by the way, the Remafox config file. It's called openfocustimer.remafox, and it's saved in our project as well. So if we go into fork, we can see now this new generated Remafox file. We're going to get into that later. And the openfocustimer.remafox config file. So this is a JSON config file. You shouldn't touch that. All right, so this is the migration notice. It's cool that it's migrating data over from body crouch, so it makes it easier for those who were using body crouch before. And now we have set up RemaFox as a build script as a big thing here. And there are a lot of things that we can do. So we can generate the resource enum file. If I click that, it just regenerates that file. I can also show the explanation here. So you can see like generates a Swift file containing etc, etc. So just read that in case you ever know. And I see something here. I think this should stay at the top. So maybe that's another thing that I should fix here. Let's add that. I should fix those things before the beta, right? Let me add this image inside of here. All right. And then how can I add a new one? All right. Make the right group align top with the left one. So this is what I want to have as a behavior. And let me move this up as well. All right. See what else we find that I want to fix before we get into the official beta. All right, so the explanations are there. You can also do a lot of things, a couple of things that BodyCrouch could do. For example, you can update your strings files based on storyboard and zip files. In this project, I don't have any storyboard or zip files, but if you're working still with storyboards and zips, RemaFox does support them, and it reads basically the localizable parts of those files, and it basically adds the things to the right strings files. I can't show it here because we don't have it there and in our project. I can translate all empty values, so if I had non-translated values, I could just click that and it would translate them all for me. And I can also retranslate all values. So if for some reason I want to do that, that's also possible. And check your strings files for issues. So let's actually run this. All right, so no files with lint violations found. Let me show you what this could do. Potentially, let's imagine there is an issue with our strings files. For example, I don't know, let's go to the German one here and let's make this empty, which is of course something that is a problem. And if I run this now, it should show me found one violation in sources resource, and it shows me the path to that file. I can also directly open the file and I can directly see where the issue is. And otherwise I can just open this and I can also see the exact right key and what the issue is with it. So I have an empty translation value there. That's one thing that it can do. So that's one thing. Another thing it can do, it can also normalize my strings file. So let me revert that. And this is actually a file that is, I think, already sorted by keys. And if that was not the case, for example, let's move this line up here. So we have the global action cancel before the database seeder here. If I go here now and say normalize strings files, it says normalize this file here. It also tells you exactly which file was normalized. And if I go back here, we can see the cancel is at the bottom again. So it is now sorted by keys. And this is one of the things that Normalizer does. And this is basically quick actions. You can see we have a lot of other options here as well. I'm not going to walk you through the whole app, but I think the quick actions make sense. And if you want to see what else you can do here, you can change the source language. You can also adjust the search paths. So it intelligently found some search file paths and subpaths, and it imported also some from the BodyCrouch config files. So you can play around with that, and you can also always click the preview matching files. So it shows you with the current settings what files will match. So you can always check if that's correct or not. For the generated RemaFox file, you can also do a couple of settings. You can rename things if you don't like how it's generated. You can also see preview here. Definitely make sure to read this in detail. Everything has an explanation like this. The machine translation has an extra place. You have to actually set up API keys here. So currently supported are DeepL and Microsoft Translator. I'm going to add more stuff over time, but for the first version, I think these are cool. And also there are convenient links to get a free key out of both of these APIs. They both have a free tier, which is quite big. So 500,000 characters free per month for DeepL. And 2 million characters free for Microsoft Translator. I'm not sure if that's monthly or all the time, but you have these links here so you can find that easily, and you can also find which languages they support. Then this is the linter config, so you can actually turn on and turn off different things, like should you check for duplicate keys. And same for the normalizer, which currently can sort by keys or harmonize with source, what means, for example, let me explain that quickly. So if I, for example, have here a new key, new.key equals hello world. This key doesn't automatically get added to the other ones. So if I now go here and say normalize the strings files keys with this option turned on, it actually says normalized files add, and then this key that we just added, which gets sorted first into alphabetically now inside the file, and also it got added here into this other file, also sorted alphabetically inside of it. So that's what the harmonize with source does. Make sure that all keys that we have in the source translation also get added to the other translations. And last but not least, the interface builder. You can define things like this to ignore specific translations, but I'm not going to get into the details there. I hope you're not using storyboards and or long term anyways. All right. So one thing that is important to do is set up a build script, because all these buttons here, I don't want to click them manually. I want them to automatically apply. So I want to, what I want to have all the time is that the resources Swift file always gets generated, and the linting happens inside of Xcode, so I can see warnings inside of Xcode, and the normalization happens also on every build. So this is what I want, and I can't set this up by simply setting up the build script. So let's do that. All right, it's telling us first create a build script phase for the targets you want. Remove to trigger, and there is a default detailed explanation image here, but I know how to do that. So let's quickly add a new build script to our project. This is our app. Go to build phases, add a new build script. I will give it the name of Rimafox. And then let's continue. What else do we have to do here? Next. I think you can't see the next button. Now you should. All right, next up, we should rename it. Okay, I've already done that. I always do this. And we should move it up right below dependencies. Let's do that. And next, I should basically copy and paste this inside of this as a build script. So we now have different things here, and it tells us what each of these options do. But I want to keep them all, I think, except for IBsync, because we don't have any interface builder files, so we can save some time. Although it wouldn't really make a big difference, because if there are no files found, it's also very fast to return anyways. Normalize, lint, generate, that makes sense, so I want to keep these, and it basically passes the config file path, which is required. All right, so this should be it, and this should actually make this whole thing work. So let's click finish. And we no longer need this, actually. We never have to open this again. But what we have to do is, okay, let's first try out if this build works. So I am going to remove from the source this new key again. And after we build, it should actually normalize things. And because of the harmonize with source rule, this actually should get removed. So let's see if that works. Let me just build the whole app. Let's see if everything works fine. I've never tested this in this project, so I hope it's going to work. And also, I haven't tested with macOS 14, so that also could be an issue. All right, we see a file was expected but did not exist at this specific folder. And okay, couldn't find the config file, looks like. Let's check that. Let me actually close this and open a new one. All right, so it's open focus timer, and then it's here. I think I know the issue. The problem is that our app is actually not directly in the root of our project. So this is the project that we're in. And as you can see, there is no Xcode project file here. So instead, it is inside of this open focus timer folder, which is not good because this here is in the root. So there's two ways to fix that. We could either move the open focus timer Rimafox config file into the same folder as the Xcode project file, or we just do something like that. So let me rerun the app and let's see what happens now. Build succeeded, so it looks like the script also ran. Let's see if what we expect to happen. Yes, it worked. So our key got removed. So Rimafox is now working via this build script. All right, and adding Rimafox means we can now remove body crouch. Rimafox replaces body crouch, remember? And it basically does the same thing. So I'm just going to remove this entire build script. I am also going to remove the entire body crouch config file, which I believe is in the root of our project. So let me go here. And we have a body crouch toml, as you can see that here. I'm just going to remove that. And I think we also have a link to it somewhere here, or maybe not. Okay. All right, so we have moved the body crouch config and the body crouch build script. The last thing we need to remove is the body crouch enum here, which is also no longer needed. So let's remove that as well. Great, we have de-integrated body crouch and we now have RemaFox available. But how we're going to use RemaFox to add a new key? So let's imagine we are in some feature. Let's go to timer feature and into the timer view. So how are we going to be able to, for example, if you want to add a new text here, to localize that? With body crouch, we could do something like body crouch dot translate. And then we could pass the key here, and then we could pass the values on the right, and then it would basically the build script would run and replace it, but it only worked when we were in the app target. So with RemaFox, it's a bit different. What we first have to do is we have to go into the settings, and that we need to do just once. We have to go into extensions, and then in the Xcode source editor extensions, we're going to find body RemaFox here. So we can turn it on. And now inside of this editor, I hope we don't need to restart. Yeah, we don't need to restart. We can find a new entry here, which is RemaFox add translation, add cursor position. And we can do that manually, click that manually while we're here. But I find it much more, much cooler, much more useful. If we just go to the settings here, to key bindings, and we just search for RemaFox here. And then we provide our own shortcut. And I'm going to use option L for localize. So that's my preferred shortcut, and the command options are all kind of already being used by Xcode. So if you want to go Command L, for example, that already has a different meaning. So I wouldn't recommend that, but the option ones are not really used much. So Option L is my preferred command. And then when I press Option L here, I hope it's going to work. Then RemaFox should open, and it happened, it worked. And one thing doesn't work here, so let me actually cancel. So we have a problem here. I think I need to fix that. So on first trigger from Xcode, no project and strings file chosen. Let me try again. Maybe it just needs a second one. Yeah, okay. This is just the first trigger, sure. All right. So we have now a screen where we can add a new key with a UI. And you can see we can select the project here, we can select the strings file here, and it pre-selects one for us. And the pre-selection also kind of uses some logic to find the right one. And we can see that this didn't actually find the localizable one, but instead the language support. Is that correct? Let me quickly check. So we have app here, and we have language support, but this is not where I put my strings. I want to actually put them here, so it doesn't find it somehow. So maybe we have a configuration issue. Let me check. We have the OpenFocus and our RemaFox. We can just double press the RemaFox file and we'll open the config file here. So that's also everything.remafox is just opened directly in RemaFox. And we can now check what's going on there by just going to search paths. Or we can also alternatively go to I think let's just do it with search paths. So Apple string stick files, it's searching inside of OpenFocus timer and then dot, and then inside sources. I don't know if that's right. And if it searches, it actually does find the localizable here. So that's weird. It should actually work. But I'm going to just fix that, make it proper. So actually what I want to have is it search inside sources. It was resources, right? Sources, resources, yes. Resources, and actually we could also go for localizable. Yeah, let's just search directly where we find it. And there's also one in app, but actually that one we never want to add something to. So this is actually the right one. Let's see what it matches. And it matches these two, and this is correct. I think that's much more correct. All right, let's go back here into our code. And let's trigger the add screen again. which somehow doesn't work. So I have to, I don't know, sometimes this happens, that this is just disabled, and I think we need to restart Xcode in that case. I think it happens mostly if there is a bug in my app, so I'm going to make sure until the release that I figure this out, so this no longer happens. But this works again, and now to update these I have to rescan the string stick files, and now it finds the right one. So this is the right one now. And now I can add a new key. So let's add a new key. And you can see a quick cheat sheet here. So everyone who's not aware of a lot of translation things, I have put some cheat sheet. And I am also making a suggestion for which syntax you should use. And I have thought about this quite a bit and have played around with many things. And I figured out that this is basically probably the best approach to make it both convenient and clear also when you're referencing the keys in the code then later, and also at the same time to have the full power and to have everything really easy to understand and safe. So my suggestion is to simply use, like you would create a nested Swift type, and you would just call the initializer. But instead of the types, we just put these specifiers. So for example, if I want to create, I don't know, what do we have here? We have the timer view. I want to create, I don't know, let's recreate this actually. Let's just recreate this and let's just give it a different name. So we have the timer.timerLeft and then the label. All right, so we call this timer.timerLeft. Why is it time left? Oh, all right, I get it. Time left, and I'm not going to call it label. I'm just going to call it time left, just like that. Timer.timeLeft. All right, maybe we're going to overwrite something. Let's use something else. Timer. What's a different word for left? Remaining time. All right, remaining time dot label, for example, and then I can open this also. And if I wanted to provide some variables that are like really that they can change, for example, I could say the remaining time, minutes, seconds, something like that. And this would actually switch to the pluralized text version. And it currently gives me a warning because we don't have localizable.stringstick files here in this project. And I'm not going to go into stringstick files. This is basically for pluralization. I can still go back to simple text if I want to. But you can see it does support pluralization. And it is actually one of the cool things that is better than Body Crouch, which doesn't support stringstick files. So RemaFox totally does that. And it's also smart in translating them. So I'm not going to go into detail there. I'm going to reveal that with the real release. But this is just a simple one. And you actually never have to leave your keyboard. You can just tap here and we'll switch to jump to the next one. I can provide a comment here. I'm going to skip that though. So English translation is going to be, I don't know, time left. All right, we can see there is a quick bug, small bug here. After switching to pluralized text and back, text field doesn't accept keyboard entries. So I've never switched around there. There's another bug, but maybe it works. Yes, it works now. All right, so I don't know what the bug is, but usually it worked in my tests, but that's what the beta is for. All right, we're going to say time left. And I can now just press Command M, and because I have not set up any keys here, I'm not going to be able to use that. But if I had used configured that already, then I could just press this button or Command M, and it would automatically translate and put this translation here. But we're just going to provide it ourselves. I don't know, you get site. And now I can just press Command Enter or just click this button here. Let me show you. Click this button here and then insert it as a string. Or if I'm using SwiftUI and I'm in a context where I can actually provide a localized string key, which is the SwiftUI kind of string. And the cool thing about localized string key is if you provide previews with multiple translations, SwiftUI previews, then localized string keys will also localize inside the previews. So if you're using SwiftUI, you should always prefer localized string key everywhere you can. But if you're not, you can just insert also as a string. I'm going to actually insert it as a localized string key. So let me click that. And make sure to select the project and stringsec file. Haven't we done that? Open focus timer. This is selected. All right, something weird happened just now. Let me write that down. Are you going to do a public beta? Yes, I'm going to do a public beta, and I'm currently preparing basically a public beta. I'm also waiting for the app icon to be finished, because when I start a public beta, I actually want to do it with the app icon. And as you can see, I still have a few bugs that I can find myself by just using the app. And those things I'm going to definitely fix before I do the public beta, like small things that I just found. Like, for example, that insert button said there is no project or strings file selected, although it was. So the cool thing is I have a video where I can reproduce it, which is this stream. All right, but let's try this again. So I'm going to provide time left, and let's press this button again. All right, you can see though another feature that I have actually provided into my app, and that's that it does automatically provide an error code, and it does search the existing tickets for that error code. And it currently fails because I have not turned it on yet. I have just tested it, and it's basically going to be on GitHub. But as soon as I'm turning on, you will see here a list of related bug reports. So you can find easily someone else who had the same report, and then hopefully you can also find some hints or answers there how you can fix that. I could also click this button and it would just search on GitHub, but as you can see, it's not turned on yet, or it's not public yet, it's currently private. I could also click the file bug report and then it fills it with some data, but yeah, that's basically this. But what I should actually have here is a project selected. All right, so we have a real problematic bug here. This definitely has to be fixed. So insert does not work. All right, so as this doesn't work, we can't really continue. Also the command V doesn't work. Okay, what should happen is it should automatically add the text here, because it's connected to the Xcode source editor extension. You can see that here. Command add transition, this is still busy, which means this screen hasn't finished yet. And it should finish here. I could also just click command escape here, and I could leave that and this would disappear. But in theory, this would be added now here. Oh, hello, welcome to the stream, Ziri. I'm great, how are you? I'm currently showing off my app that I've been working on for 6 months, and this is the beta that I'm currently testing. And we've just run into a bug that basically prevents us from really showing the whole thing. But that's what the beta is for. Great to hear that. So how have your streams been lately? I don't know if you were streaming that much. Excited about it. Yeah, of course. Of course. I think I'm going to start the public beta sometime next week. So anybody who's interested in that, definitely make sure to ping me on Twitter so I don't forget to send it to you as well. I stream pretty much. It's working great. Okay, maybe I just didn't see that. And at what times are you streaming? I mean, I've been working a lot lately because I was really trying hard to prepare this beta as soon as possible. And now I'm finally through my beta tasks, and I just have like 20 or 30 release tasks left, which I have to work on next. You're definitely interested, Dragon Dust. Great. Then definitely, yeah, just in case I forget to ping you or to prevent that, just ping me right now on Twitter and just say like, hi, beta or something like that, and I will remember. Randomly at the moment, can't have a schedule, always meetings are crashing my schedule. Yeah, I can understand that. I will, yeah, great, thank you very much for that. All right, so this should actually now read something like, oh, I can't even type now. Oh yes, I can't type because the extension is still bugging us. Okay, I'm going to cancel this just by clicking cancel, so we can continue using Xcode. And it should include something like timer.remaining time.label, something like this, and then log string key. But I can't show it to you right now because it didn't work as you saw the button, but it should have placed this in automatically inside of here. And also it should have placed something inside here as well, which should then contain the generated files, which it doesn't right now. And also this seems to not have worked because this should actually contain the existing translations. Let me build this again and rerun things. All right, so there are still some issues here. Is there a configuration issue? Cannot find log. Ah, yeah, of course, we have added code that doesn't compile. That's not going to work, of course. But also the file doesn't change. All right, we're going to have a look at that right after the break. So a quick break and I'll be back in 5 minutes. All right, I am back. And I would say overall we can summarize and say that the beta candidate failed and I have to work on the app. Yeah, a few more days and then I'm hopefully going to be able to have a version that has these issues fixed. But I still want to know why the generated file didn't contain any of the keys. I mean, look at our localizable string file. It contains a lot of things, but this removeFox generated file doesn't contain any of those things. So this is definitely something that I think should already work. Let's try to find out why that's the case. I'm just going to open this again, the config file. And inside of here, we can go to generated code and we can just regenerate this code. So let's just click that and see if something changes. Yes, all right. So for some reason, the regeneration didn't quite catch up everywhere else, but now you can see there is a type alias, which is called log by default. You can change it though. So you can just go here and just change this to L10N, for example. And then if I regenerate the file now, I'll have exactly the same name as with SwiftGen. Talking about SwiftGen, by the way, I can also remove the strings file here, the entire configuration from SwiftGen as well. So another thing we can remove. All right, so this way I can reference everything via this L10N, and it says invalid redeclaration, of course, because we have in SwiftGen the strings file, which I can now remove. And the interesting thing here is that all the L10N references now will use removeFox. And that also will mean that it's going to fail right now, because if I build the app, you will see that although this is also an enum, very similar to SwiftGen's, I do provide a few more features than SwiftGen. For example, if I go to L10N dot, which goes to database seeder, main project category name, you'll see you can either reference the string, which returns the string, going into the localization and getting that, or a localized string key, which you can use then in SwiftUI. Or you can also, if for whatever reason you need the table a lookup key, so the key basically in the localized string file, maybe you need it for whatever reason, maybe you do something dynamic stuff, you also have access to that if you need that. But basically these two are what we need. I just noticed also that we have this in a Swift package and they are internal, which I don't want. So I want to actually say that this is in a Swift package and regenerate the file, which will make those public. So that's also something that we can, now we can reference them all in our project. And yeah, you now have basically this file here. You can see a preview always, and you can play around with these settings here. I'm actually going to go with L10N, which stands for localization, L for L, N for the last word, character in localization, and 10 characters in between, for those who don't know why it's called L10N. But we could also go for just loc, which is the default of the app, which stands for localization, which I actually want to go back to, so I prefer that. Let me regenerate the enum, and now it's loc again. All right, let's build the app and let's fix all the places where we were referencing L10N. Cool. First thing we can do is we can replace everything that's L10N with loc. And then last, we have to change this also slightly a bit. So let's see how this looks by just using code completion. So we can now go to loc and then dot, and what was it? Database seeder dot main project category, and then dot name. And now you can see it's big. It's not a small one because it's a type now, and you have to explicitly say if you want to have a string or the localized string key, which is when you have SwiftUI. Here we need the string because we just need a string back, and now we can replace the below code basically with this. Should be equivalent to what we had here before. So if you compare it directly, that's how things change. So let's fix it everywhere. I'm just going to replace every L10N, but you're just using the search here, L10N dot. I want to find and replace with loc dot. Let's see all those entries. Yeah, let's replace them all. All right, so that's one thing. And now we have to fix the that they were small before, and now I have to basically replace .name with .name.string. In this file, we have a lot of them all refer to .name. So let me just mark this and use the command shortcut to mark the same thing and have multiple cursors. And I'm just going to say name.string. All right, that should fix it, and we should have less warnings now. Let's see what else we have warnings. Errors, I mean. All right, so here we have a couple of those, and this one, actually it's in a button context. So here we can use localized string key, .log string key. Here navigation title also, everything that's directly SwiftUI should support localized string key. So we should also be able to use log string key here. What else is failing? Here we go. So this is this a custom type? What is this? Okay, this is expecting a string for the placeholder, so we have to use string here. Although we could change that theoretically to accept the localized string key. Let me actually use it like this. .string. I have to go now. See you next time. Thank you for joining in Dragon Dust, and I'm looking forward to sending you the beta and see what feedback you have for me. Thank you very much. Good luck with your bug fixes. Thank you very much for that, and have a nice weekend. I hope you had a great Friday and a great week. Yeah, see you hopefully next time. All right, let's see what else we need to fix here. This is also navigation title, so we can use local string key. What else do we have? The close here, just in button, so log string key. Does not accept a closure. What's going on here? No idea. Let's see if there's any other issues. No, this is the only one. What could be the issue? Log string key. Ah, here we forgot to add here as well. Yeah, the bugs reported by Swift aren't always exact, so sometimes it misses to show the right place. So this was the issue. Now we have another issue somewhere. We have another localization here that we missed. Oh yeah, we have the tiles here. We have a lot of them still. So title changes to title dot string. Now building works fine for here. Do we have other places we have to fix it as well? Looks like it. Next up is here. So I'm thinking about a migrator that does exactly this for you by replacing it always with .string. But I figured people have so different projects that maybe it's not going to work properly, so I haven't really tackled it. If you are looking for some feature like that to migrate from SwiftGen based to RemaFox, definitely make sure to request a feature. There is a request a feature. Let me go back to RemaFox here. So you can here just simply go to help and say request a feature. And if you click that, you will be guided to a GitHub repo where you can basically report a feature request. And then, yeah, I know exactly what you need, and then just make sure to describe what you need there. And yeah, what maybe settings you're using for SwiftGen. I'm planning to update this app over time to add more and more features. I have a lot of ideas actually, and quite a few amazing things as well. So I'm really sure that this is going to be helping with translating apps. This is just the first version. Name label. Do we have this multiple times? Doesn't look like it. Name label dot. This is a text field, so I think this should accept localized string key. Same here. Name placeholder dot log string key. Then we have the color label. It's color picker is also, I think. log string key, icon label, cancel. Oops. Auto completion doesn't work because we're on an iOS target and it doesn't see the macOS code, so that's why it doesn't work. This is also local string key. Save log string key. Because these are simple SwiftUI views, they all accept log string key. Only if we define our own functions and things like that, where we specify string explicitly, we will need string. What else do we have? Oh, it's going now over above this line, so let's make this multiple lines. Right. This is looking better now. Let's see what else we need to add. Build is taking time. Next up, we're continuing here. Log string key. Placeholder. We had a typo here, looks like. Maybe we can fix that as well. So this is in settings category group. Let's go to localization. To the English one, placeholder. There we go. Let's change this to placeholder and also change that in the German one. All right, if we just regenerate the file here, it should also be available now. In here, placeholder, there you go. And this is also log string key. All right, this should be that file. Next up is here. A couple of more left, I think. I just recognize that if you have a SwiftUI app like we have, most of them are actually log string key. I was expecting most of them to be .string, but it's actually not the case. That's interesting. That's a learning I'm already having here. Except for finding the bugs, of course. Well, this actually fits into one line, as you can see by the line guide. Did I miss something? Yes, here. And this one here. All right. One more file here. No, this is too long. Let's make this also a bit more readable. That should be it for this file. Oh wait, we forgot. There's more. Yeah, we missed something here. Here, to delete. Let's build again. Failed and in this file. Due to these things here. Yeah, the migration isn't the best. Maybe I will provide at some point a migrator. Let's see how things are going after the beta. And the gold duck appeared. Let me actually catch that. Alright, we're getting to the close. So now we're definitely returning strings, and this is all the same. So let's mark it like this and go t.string. And this we can remove. Where do we have texts? Here. Alright, this should be this file. And we're done. So we have gone through the entire project and we have made sure we localize everything. Let me just double check if I'm building for Mac. It is also building the if macOS directive part of the code. Maybe there is something we missed there. Yes, it does fail, and it's failing here, so I guess we've missed something in here. That is if Mac, there we go. This we missed, and I think that should be it. I hope. Build fail, there's one more. Alright, the delete here. Okay, there's a couple of ones that we missed. But now it's looking better. Yes, it builds now for macOS as well. Let's go back to iPhone. And that's about it. That's the migration to RemaFox. So to recap, let me go through everything that we did. So first off, we removed the entire body crouch build script because we added the RemaFox build script instead. So that's the first thing. Then we RemaFox itself introduced a new RemaFox file, which this isn't actually the right one. So it looks like we have two of them now. Ah, of course, because we have we first introduced it. All right, I think I see the issue with the build script. Why the build script didn't work. Anyways, this is not the right one, so I'm going to unstage that and just revert it by discarding changes. So this is the right one that we are expecting. And this is basically a replacement for the SwiftGen generated string.swift file, which kind of looked similar. But notice that I have added some documentation comments. So when you are actually doing this with auto-completion, like, I don't know, if you're, for example, here, and you do something like lock.settings, you can see settings categories, for example. and then delete confirm dialog, and then message. As soon as you are at the place where you have the actual key, you see the translation. So you can see this is going to translate to, do you really want to delete this category? This is the text that is provided for that in English, which is, I hope, handy to always see what this is about. And then log string key. And you can, of course, also just use option press. So if you just option press this, you should also see the documentation. And currently it doesn't compile for some reason, but if it would work, then it should actually show here also the translation. I hope that Xcode is going to fix that. You can of course always jump and you can also see it here, but in auto-completion you can definitely see it. If you have like a message, then you see it here. So that's one thing that is definitely different. And the second different thing is definitely that you can access string, log string, or log string key. So you have both SwiftUI localization and non-SwiftUI localization at your hand, your availability. All right, we fixed this small issue here, typo issue, then the reflection. We replaced basically everywhere the L10N call to SwiftGen with a call into RemaFox ones. So that's what we did there. And we can see we did that in all over the place. And you can see that we are most of the time calling log string key because we are in a SwiftUI app. And in most contexts, we can not only pass a string, but it's actually saying string protocol. And we can also pass a localized string key, which localizes nicely also in SwiftUI previews. So always prefer a log string key if you can pass a log string key. And if you can't, just go back and you just use a plain string. And this is all looking good to me. We removed the entire body crouch config file after we introduced RemaFox, because when we first set up RemaFox, it actually used the contents of this file to set up the application basically with the config that we had here already. And this is a new config file, so this is just JSON details. You shouldn't really know about these things. If you are interested, you can of course have a look into them, but the whole point is that you should check that in, and that's why it's provided in a simple JSON syntax, so you can easily fix merge conflicts if you have any. And SwiftGen, also we could remove now the strings generator. We still need the XC assets one for the image, a nice safe image access, but we no longer need it for strings because RemaFox provides that out of the box. And as we can see, this is being always created by the build script. Maybe we can fix that before we finish up the commit here. So we are doing this here, and then this uses the config file. And I think we should just move the config file. I think that's the issue here. So I think we should move the config file to a different place. And I think I'm just going to do that by closing this and moving this inside of here. Now it's in the same place as the Xcode project, and that's how RemaFox is designed to be used. So that's definitely going to work better. And now we can also remove this dot dot again from here. And the only thing that I'm not really sure if it's going to work, maybe we can also figure that out if I just open this config file. We want to know if we can actually specify this here with dot dot slash. Yeah, this doesn't work. Renaming resource enum file failed. Couldn't be moved to resource because either the format doesn't exist or the whole containing glider doesn't exist. Okay, so all right, so let me make another screenshot here. Oops. So this didn't work. Moving inside a parent folder using dot dot didn't work. It's a use case that should work as well. All right, but we can do that manually and just keep this like that here. And I hope when we build it here, it's actually going to use the new config file properly. It actually it at least builds now. And we can see that this gets all this stuff removed, which is not what we want. All right, so something weird is going on here. I think I'm going to take a look at this later. I'm just going to revert all the changes in here. I think what we had set up before was kind of working fine. I'm just going to commit that, and I'll have a look at that and fix those bugs there and make sure that it works also with how the open focus timer is structured. where the project file lies inside a subfolder. All right, so let's commit this. Migrate from body crouch and swiftgen for strings, save strings access to remafux. Migrate from body crouch and swiftgen. Let's just say to remafux. All right, that's the commit. And we are seeing some warnings here. All right, some lint warnings. Let me check that actually in Xcode. And also let's see what else changed here. Okay, package resolve changed. Okay, slide change here. Slide change here as well. Let's just keep them as they were reported. And I think there was also some Swift lint warnings. Let me check them. Where are the Swift lint warnings? Can't find them here. This is always being created. I should maybe for now, for this version, just comment out the generate one here. So we're not going to use that until I fix the issue. Let's commit again. All right, so what's the issue here? Settings category groups view line 39. Settings category group line 39. Vertical parameter line on call. Confirmation dialog. This is looking good to me, to be honest. Vertical parameter alignment on call. Function parameters should be aligned vertically if they're in multiple lines in a method call. Yes, they should, but they are. I think this is a... Yeah, this is a Swift lint. What's the rule name? This is a false positive, I would say. So I'm just going to ignore it here. What else do we have? Same thing in settings edit. Okay, maybe we should turn this rule off because it seems to have many false positives. Where's the Swift lint configuration? Do we turn it on explicitly? Yes, we do. So I'm just going to remove that. All right, let's see if we can commit that now with the change to Swift lint config file. Yes, we can, and then we're going to also push that. All right, that was my quick test of my own app that I've been working on for quite a bit. And I am going to go working on new features on OpenFocus Timer next. So instead of going further into that app, this is basically what we've done, and we have tested and found some bugs there. So let's call it release testing, actually. Let's call it beta release testing. We did a beta release testing, so I want to make a beta release, and before that I tested if everything works fine, and I found a couple of bugs. I think for many projects it's still going to work as is, except for one bug, which was the insert, that I definitely have to fix and figure out what's going on there. But the rest with the project configuration, I think that's specifically because our Xcode project file doesn't lie in the root of our project. That was, I think, the issue here in this project. And I'm going to find a solution for that and make just remafux more flexible and easy to set this up that way. All right, let's get to the next steps. And our next step that we want to work on is implementing history statistics screen in the main window. So let's go and have a look what the main window currently looks like. I just select iPhone here and just run the application. and we wait for a while because Xcode sometimes is slow. All right, now we can see that translation doesn't work. That's interesting. So another bug found. Let me make a screenshot of that. Actually use it like this. The question is why that happens now. Translation didn't work from a Swift package. I think that was the issue. So I haven't tested with Swift packages yet. And it looks like it's not supporting Swift packages yet. From Swift package, but it should actually support Swift package. So let me quickly check the Remafox file. And it should actually go into bundle.module, exactly. So this should actually reference bundle.module, but we're using the log string key everywhere. Maybe that needs also kind of a bundle module thing. Yeah, that might be the issue. So table lookup key, can we specify a module here? Localize string key, value, there's no module. So string literal. Let's actually have a look inside of here. It accepts just with string, interpolation. Is it impossible? Let me check that. Swift package. Let me explicitly specify bundle.module. No, that's not what we're looking for. So they have a lookup key thing, yeah. This is just if you're all having your localizations in the projects. All right, maybe we should just fix it by moving this file inside of our project. So I'm just going to go to the Remafox app again. Let's just open the config file. And our generated code file, no, is it generated code file? No, I think the whole localizable strings file. We need to somehow fix that, but I think I'm going to figure that out also outside of the stream. It's also possible that this just doesn't support it yet. I couldn't find it quickly, so maybe we just should replace all log string key references with .string. So anything that's log string key, I'm going to replace with .string. Replace all, and that should be it. Let me just check the changes. If it changes any places I don't expect. It's all views, that's looking fine. All right, so let me build the app again. Now everything should be translated again, because for the .string, we do have the possibility to provide a module. And localized string key might not work with that, but I'm going to figure that out. Let me also note that. Yeah, this is already noted. Okay, this is working now. So we have the app back and we can now focus on the main screen. And on the main screen, you can see there is nothing there yet. You can just see a sidebar, and this is actually a navigation. How's it called now? This is not a stack, it's a navigation split view. A navigation split view. And this is the sidebar we can see. And then there's a main content view. And what we want to do is we want to start adding here some entries like history and statistics, which are part of the features that we'll be planning. So let's do that right next. Let me quickly commit these changes here by adding replace dot string key accesses with dot string due to a limitation with packages basically. And then what's this? Couldn't download symbols for watchOS. I don't care. Anyways, so what feature are we in? We're in the main feature, and let's just go to the main feature view. Let's add the SwiftUI preview, and let's build this and see what the preview looks like. Go, Xcode, you can do it. All right, so this is what it looks like on iPhone 13, and we can switch between different devices, but it's slow. Okay, let's stay with one. And we have the sidebar right now, and we want to have some entries in here. So what's the best kind of entries we can have? They're not going to be many entries, so I want them to be kind of big. First off, we have a VStack. I think that is fine because we're not going to have too many entries. We don't need a scroll view, but probably scroll view is more correct just to make this long-term compatible. And then we have a text in some way, and text is going to have, I'm just going to not localize it right now, and it's going to have something like timer history. This is the main view. Let me quickly think about this. Is with the settings. So this is going to have the history entry, and it's going to have a statistics entry. And maybe we can make this a label, because I'm sure there's some nice icons we can use for these, like system symbol. Let's see what's and we have now a new feature in Xcode. We should be able to search for SF symbols here. Which one is it? This one? Yeah, this is it. So we can now search for symbols. And what's the shortcut for this, by the way? Is there a shortcut? Library. Show library. There we go. It's Option Command L. Okay, I should get used to that. Option Command L. And now we want to find something for history. What is a good icon for history? Definitely something like a clock. I think like these lines, something with document or a circle path arrow. So let me go back here. Let's first see what document kind of things we have here. Okay, what circle path, history. Let's go back to document. Let's search for clock. Oh yeah, I think these ones I definitely prefer. Actually, we could just use just clock. Or we could also use a calendar kind of icon. Let's try calendar. I actually like calendar. Oh, you can see calendar badge clock. I think that's like a good history one. All right, calendar badge clock. All right, and same for history. Statistics, I mean, stat, nope. Chart, yeah, chart helps. Chart.bar, I think we're going to have bars mostly. So maybe we just do chart.bar x-axis. I kind of like that. There we go. And now we want to make them a little bigger, so we could first start with adding padding. Just use the defaults. And it's not enough. I want to also make them look like buttons, and the text should be larger, so let's use a different font. Let's use title first. Let's see what that is like. A bit too big. Title 2. That does it, I think. I mean, title 3 would probably be too small. That works as well. Maybe I will try title 2 first though. And maybe they should be all title 2. So let's do it like that. All right, I want to align them on the left, so they should be aligned on the left with each other. And there's a couple of ways to do that, and a new way to do that is by using a grid, I think. And I'm not sure if this is a good use case for the grid if you don't have anything like a second column. Will we have a second column? I'm not sure. Maybe we shouldn't use a grid yet. Instead, let's just use frame, max width, infinity, and alignment leading. All right, that does it on the whole thing, but we want to apply it to all of them. Oops. And the whole thing should also get the full width. So let's also give it the full width, max width, infinity. Somehow this still doesn't look as I expected. So let me see what this actually renders like. Just going to change the background to yellow. All right, so this doesn't use the full space. I wonder why. That's weird. So we have navigation split view, and I'm telling it, oh, we are setting the width to 180 explicitly here. That's interesting. Of course, then the max width doesn't do anything anymore. I'm just going to remove that. I don't know. I don't know why we have it there. Maybe we don't need the max width anymore. These look weird now in the preview. I hope it's not going to look like the same, like that. Let me actually run the app. Sometimes running the app looks entirely different than the SwiftUI preview. So let's see what it will look like when we ran the app. Oh, it's already running, but it's not showing. Oh no, it's not running yet. Is it still building? Let me run again. Oh, we're in the main feature, that's why it doesn't work. Let me go to the app and let's run the app. All right, now if we go to main, yeah, the same is happening here as well. All right, this is weird. I have the feeling this uses the width of the landscape mode for the portrait mode, which is weird. I wonder if this is an iOS 16 bug or an Xcode 14 bug. I don't really know, but we're going to just try to figure out how we can work around it. So let me see the preview here again. And I can see we are specifying here for the whole split view a specific size. Maybe we should remove that. Is that going to help? Yes. Okay, so that was the issue. So we shouldn't be providing a specific size for iOS app at least. For the Mac app, maybe it does make sense, but that's not what we're currently working on. All right, so next up, I think we need to make this a bit more beautiful. But all right, okay, first we have a break. So I'll be back in 5 minutes and now we're going to continue. Yeah, see you right then. And don't forget to get some fresh air and to stretch. That's what the break is for. All right, back. And we want to continue with this sidebar. So let's make these buttons actually. We just made them labels, but of course we want to make them buttons so we can choose on them. And also, no, also I think that's just it. So let's just make buttons. And I'm going to use the initializer with an action and a label. And the action is going to be simple enough, but the label is this one here. And for this, I will label this here. And the actions are just that they were pressed. So let's go into the main feature views action. And I see that we still have the old structure here. So let's quickly refactor that. So the reducer is fine, but the store, we have split that actually now into an action and a state. So we call it main feature state. And main feature action, and we also have an action handler now. Main feature action handler. All of them start with import composable architecture and import foundation. All right, here we have the struct main feature. Let's make it public. Main feature state. This is the public enum. Main feature action, and they're all equatable, by the way. Also the state. And the handler. Let's actually copy these code a bit from the timer feature. Or where do we have that already? Here we have it already. So the action is equatable and bindable action. Let's do that in the action here as well. Then we have the different cases, including the binding case, which we need here as well. Of course, this is main feature state. And then in the action handler, this is just a struct with these three things here. Like that. And of course, ours are not settings category state, but this is main feature state and main feature action. And the state, it's equatable, and that actually, let's just add a withable here, which is convenient sometimes. And of course, main feature state is withable, and for withable, we need to import handy Swift. All right. Now let's move over this logic from here, and we don't have any logic here actually, so we can actually just delete this file and the store here, and instead use these two. Does not conform to bindable action. I think there's one more thing for the reducer that we need to do to make it conform to bindable, and that's add the binding. The debug actions should actually be somewhere else, I think, but I'm not going to touch that for now. Must be exhaustive, that's going to be help us, so let's actually use that. Okay, this is just a binding. All right, for the binding, we're just going to use this non-action because we don't have to do anything for the binding. And now let's add our new actions, and that's what's the issue? State action environment. Why is it ambiguous? Let me just build again. All right, doesn't state it's ambiguous anymore. Okay, where do we define append? In utility, so let's import utility as well. All right, that's better. And now in our view, we want to say that the history button was clicked. So history button clicked. So let's define the action first. History button pressed, and the same for statistics button pressed. Then we could go to reducer and handle those cases. And we're now just going to pass them into the action handler. So let's also add the functions here. All right, the logic isn't implemented yet, but let's call them inside the reducer. Oh, we don't have an action handler here yet. Let's create one. Action handler is main feature action handler. And let's just look that up here. So we are creating that, just passing the environments. That makes sense. With env. Simple as that. What's going on? Oh, we forgot to rename this. All right, now we should be able to call into action handlers history button pressed and pass the state as an in-out, so it can change the state. Same for statistics. This should build now, and action handler should not build because we're not returning anything here. And I'm just going to skip the logic here. So this is a not yet implemented and return none. Let's see if that builds. Nope. Oh yeah, we have to call them. So now we have those actions. We can simply call view store. If we don't have available here, to be honest, that's wrong. So let's wrap this into with view store. And we need the same, of course, here as well later. All right, now we can call the send action, and then we can just say and forward that history button was pressed. And same here, view store dot statistics button was pressed. Send statistics button was pressed. So this is how the view connects to our reducer, and the reducer forwards it to the action handler. And that way, these buttons are actually triggered when these views are pressed. So let's see the preview here. So we can see now they are buttons, and we can press them, but nothing happens right now when we press them because we don't have any logic in our action handler yet. So what we want to have is we want the navigation to influence what content view we're showing. And I'm not 100% sure how that works with navigation split view, so I'm just going to look that up quickly. So we want this basically to change. One thing I could do is, of course, I could go into the state. I could just add things like, I don't know, maybe a navigation path or something like that here, and then act on that. And I think that's also how it works now. So let's quickly read it up. Navigation split view. Right, so a list of things, then we can have a selection, and then employee details for, and employee IDs is just a set. This is interesting. Alright, it doesn't really show much, so I'm just going to implement it with basic stuff. Just going to say we are going to define an enum, which is going to be our selected sidebar entry. Let's just call them sidebar entries. Sidebar, is it one word or is it sidebar? Is there a name for a sidebar here? Navigation split view. Oh, we used one word here, so let's reuse that here as well. Sidebar entry, and we have history, and we have statistics. So these are our two entries, and we can actually also streamline this by just saying we're providing a for each, and for that we need to make this case iterable, and we should probably provide a display name for them. So I'm actually going to introduce a new utility here, which I'm calling displayable. So this is a protocol displayable, which just requires that we have a display name, string as a getter. And that way, let's also make this public. And that way we can say, if we import utility here, that this one here also conforms to displayable. And then we have a display name, which we can switch over self. And if it's history, we return a localized history here. So that's something we need to localize next time with the fixed RemoFox, because I don't want to do it manually. Let's call history here. So what we would do here is I would go into Alt L and I would add the key here, and then when I click insert, it should insert, but that's what doesn't work right now. I think it's also not working due to path issues. So I think it's really the two bugs that we had are related to each other. But let's cancel that. So we can get back to here. And I'm just going to return history here with a developer comment that we need to localize this. And same for statistics. All right, so we have a display name for them, and that means we can now for each over the state dot, okay, we don't have the state here, it's main feature state, dot sidebar entry, all cases. And then for each of them, we basically provide a button like this. And the send action is going to be different on based on the sidebar entry. So maybe we just need one action now. We can just really streamline this to say, okay, sidebar entry pressed. And then we just pass the sidebar entry. And I actually would like to have these here everywhere. So in the action, I want to have the type alias to state. And in, I think state is fine. Type alias must be declared public because it matches. Is it? Oh, that's fine. Anyways, we can then say state.sidebar entry. And this one we don't need anymore. Isn't public, uses internal type. For that needs to be public as well. By the way, let me turn off the countdown. I think we're going to finish right before that. All right, so sidebar entry press is our action here now. And our view is now just calling that. Sidebar entry press, and then we're just going to pass the sidebar entry, which we get here, sidebar entry. And the label is going to be our sidebar entry.display name. Okay, we also need a system symbol, so let's also add that. And we want to have an icon basically, which is an SF symbol. Let's import SF save symbols, which is an SF symbol. Also switch over self. Case history. What would we have for history? This one here. And for statistics, we had this one here. All right, now we also have an icon. We can just refer to it here. Maybe we should call a symbol. Sidebar entry dot symbol. Padding and everything else is the same, so we no longer need this button, and we can just for each, and this should actually compile now. Okay, there's one issue, and it says that requires that the sidebar entry conform to identifiable, so we can fix that as well by just making this have a string representation, string raw representation, and then if I just make this identifiable, I need to provide an ID, and that can be as simple as our new raw value that is being auto-generated by the compiler to be history and statistics. And now our view should build. Okay, this builds, but we have other places that we have to fix, and it says that action can't be inferred, initial state mocked. Okay, kind of weird bugs here. I don't know what's going on there. I guess that we have, okay, we don't have a state here. ID must be declared public, okay. Maybe that's the entire issue. And this must be declared public as well. What else is failing? Will never be executed, that makes sense, but that's not the bug. What's actually failing? All right, we don't have these two buttons anymore. Instead, we just have sidebar. Oh, the action not working. Sidebar entry pressed. Sidebar entry pressed with the sidebar entry. And now we can actually go into our action handler. Also simplify this to sidebar entry pressed. And the state and the sidebar entry now we need also be passed, so we know which sidebar entry is being passed along here. So that also reduces it to just one function, and we can call that. All right, let's build again. Let's see what else is missing. Now the build succeeded. And we should see our preview again. All right, now we have two buttons. They kind of look weird because also they're at the top. Maybe we should just put them at the center. I guess the easiest way to do that is just using VStack, going back to VStack. Now they are at the center. I also want to have some padding here on the side. So let's give this whole thing a padding. And maybe we don't need to provide any padding here. Although that I think also, yeah, we don't. Yeah, I think this makes also the click area larger if we keep the padding inside here. I want to provide a spacing here instead, but I think it's better to have the padding here to make the button area larger. All right, this is kind of useful, not really beautiful, but let's see if it works. And what we want to do is we want to change the view based on what we select. So now we have the content view here, and we want to show something different based on what is being selected. And the selected state we have to save now. So we don't have the selected sidebar entry. And let's store that now by just saying we have a variable which is selected sidebar entry. And we can default it to history. And now in the action handler, we can actually just say state.selected sidebar entry and just set it to the sidebar entry that we get here. And this should have the logic now to set this value. And actually, we don't need this whole thing. If we just set a simple value, we can actually use at bindable state. And we can actually go here and just use the binding. The binding already takes care of just setting this. So I can actually get completely rid of this. So we no longer even need this function, but we have now introduced the file, so it's still worth it. We will need that later. And in the view, the view store send action happens a bit differently. Instead, we just say view store dot send, or wait. No, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. I was in a wrong impression that we had a binding there, but we don't have a binding, so we need to do that manually. All right, that makes sense. We need to keep those, and then we can here just say the content should differ based on what was selected. And I can just say view store the selected sidebar entry. I can actually switch over this and just say if it is history, then show the history view, and if it is statistics, show the statistics view. So let's actually stop this here. I'm just going to say text history view, and same with statistics. So what's added to do here? That is clear. This needs no localization. And now when we switch over them, they should actually change. The only question is how this navigates, and it does not navigate here on iPhone. So that's something we need to fix. Let's write that down as next steps. So make sure this, make sure selecting as sidebar entry also causes navigation on iOS. I think on macOS this will already work, because when we select them, we just change the content view, because we see them all the time. It would just change the view. And yeah, that's how that will work. But with iOS, we need to go inside, and that's like a stack, navigation stack. So that's why this doesn't work. And this actually applies here overall. All right, so that's it for today. We didn't make it to the Swift charts part. I was hoping that we could make it to that. But we're going to continue here, and then I think we're going to be pretty fast at implementing statistics view. I think I'm going to start with statistics view so we can use Swift charts. I'm really looking forward to that, and yeah, that's going to happen next time. So let's quickly commit these changes. All right, so we streamlined, or basically we implemented a basic sidebar with 2 entries for 2 views. And we have some linting errors here, specifically type contents order violation with type alias in main feature action. Of course, the cases come before the type alias in enums, and I wonder how I did that in the other project, but I'm going to figure that out later. So let's go back here and try to commit this with the latest changes. There we go. Let's also add that to our summary. So we have also, by the way, refactored main feature to use action and state as separately. All right. Problems. I think it was basically that we had some bugs here, and maybe we don't navigation split view doesn't navigate down automatically. We have to figure that out, and that's probably going to be a learning next time. And that's it for today's stream. So before I completely close, let's go back to the round of news that I had at the beginning. So quickly, reminder that there is this new episode of the App Store Tagebuch German podcast for development, and we had a prominent guest at this time. We recorded this yesterday, so it's really fresh, with Ulf Burmeier, who's a political podcaster, and I think it's one of the biggest podcasts in Germany, so it's definitely somebody who many people listen to. Then I wrote the latest issue of the Swift Evolution Monthlies with 4 new proposals that I covered and summarized, so definitely check that out as well. And I also wrote my first Swift Evolution pitch, so if you're interested in that, make sure to have a read here on Swift Evolution on if Gartlet catch for community accessing both result type cases. And we have reached 100 subscribers now, which I'm really happy about. I'm going to try figure out how I can change the name. I hope it's going to work out. Then quick tip again, Virtual Buddy, where you can virtualize a VM, and it works with Ventura. So you can basically download this, and it has a downloader that is integrated to download Ventura, and you can try and play around with Ventura before installing it. And we're going to use it for Open Focus Timer, so we can check if the macOS version also works fine or not. And that's about it for the quick round here. And I thank everyone who has been in the stream, everyone watching on Twitch. I'll be checking if there's someone else doing coding, so I'll be rating them for sure. And everyone watching on YouTube, make sure to like this video right now. And yeah, I hope that this was kind of interesting, and I'm going to fix issues with RemaFox, and I'm going to start a public beta of RemaFox, so make sure to watch out on Twitter on that announcement as well, on when that's going to be the case. I just have to figure out and fix some of the bugs that I found in the stream. And other than that, thank you very much, have a nice weekend, and see you all next week with the next episode of Open Focus Timer. Bye!